Master Your Mindset Radio, episode 82.
Welcome to Master Your Mindset Radio, the show where we empower you to conquer limiting beliefs and transform your world with your gifting and purpose. Now for your host, Elizabeth Nader.
Hey friends, welcome back. As I'm recording this podcast, it is day 365 of what I term the year of fear. 365 days since the lockdown in the United States, since we took that extreme reaction to the pandemic and the threats that posed. 365 days of what I'm calling the year of fear. Now, some of you right now are thinking, oh my gosh, she's going to go political. This is going to be political. It's not political. It's not. This, no matter what you think, no matter your beliefs, no matter what you're for, no matter what you're against, no matter your political stance, this has definitely been a year of fear for everyone. No one, I think, if they're telling the truth, could say that this has not been that kind of challenge for them. Because no matter what you think, whether you're afraid of the virus, whether you're afraid of losing your rights, whether you're afraid of the health of family members, whether you're afraid about your job, about your financial situation, fears about your business, fears about your future, fears about your children, fears about your children's future. All of these things are fears, are things that we have dealt with. And again, it's not a matter of what you believe in or what you don't believe in. We've experienced fear, everyone across the board on either end of the spectrum. More so probably than any time for most of us in our lifetime. There are some much older people who have lived through difficult things that some of us have not lived through. Maybe still people who are around today that lived through the fear of a child going off to the Vietnam War, perhaps some people who lived through the fear of World War II. I'm not equating those or saying one is more than the other. I'm just saying for most of us, this is one of the most fear-filled years, or I should say fear-filled years that we have experienced. So why does that matter? Pointing out the obvious. Because I think now on this anniversary of this year of fear, that it is beholden to us to take a look back, and say, what did we learn from this? To examine our reaction to fear, to examine how we dealt with it, to examine our responses to everything so we can learn from it, so we can decide how to move forward, so we can be more resilient, so we can deal with challenges and fears that come our way in the future better. If you really stop and meditate about this past year, I think that you will learn a lot about yourself, and I believe it's a worthy exercise. And the truth is, we have a lot of choices when it comes to our reaction to fear. But rather than go through all the things that we can do, I want to focus really on one, which is about taking action. And part of that taking action is to be honest with yourself and looking at how you reacted to the fears that came at you in this past year, and maybe what would you have done differently? What would you have done better? So really, taking action is about mitigating the impact that fears have on your mental capacity. Because remember what you control, one thing, and that is your mind and how you direct it. But fears are there to attack your mind. Fears actually are created out of your imagination, by making reality seem much worse than it is, by projecting into the future. I'm not saying that there aren't some very scary things that you may have faced or are facing that, are valid, but our mind and our imagination will take something and make it worse than it is and create this fear. So you look into the future and you feel as though something is bigger than you, that you cannot handle it. So this past year, all these fears that we face, they're real, they're justifiable, but many of them have not come to pass. Some of them have, but not in the way we were concerned. And some of them, yet we don't know where things will land. So first thing we need to do is get back to square one. What can we control? We can control our mind and how we react to situations. 90% of what we experience is not what happens to us, but how we react to what happens to us. And because we've had very little perceived control this past year in any way, it's really taught us again what we have control over. So it's just our mind. So when it comes to fear, my biggest advice is to take action. Have you done that this year? Look back. Christy Wright says, her quote is, "The antidote to fear is action." Did you do that this past year? Did you take action when you experienced fear? When you were concerned about your health, did you do something about it? When you were concerned about catching the virus, did you take action for yourself? When you were concerned about your financial situation, did you take action? When you were worried about your children, did you take action? The antidote to fear is action. And that is absolutely a big lesson from this past year. Now, it takes courage to get yourself to take action in spite of the fear that you're facing. It does. It takes courage. But if you don't, you're crippled, right? Fear has a way of crippling you, keeping you stuck, keeping you paralyzed, or even worse, making you give up. So as I'm talking and you think about this past year and the fear that came into your life at various points, in various ways, in various degrees, how did you deal with that fear? Are you happy with your reaction to it? Maybe you are. Then continue to use that going forward. Do you wish you would have reacted differently? Learn from that. Change how you react to future fears. Do you feel as though there was a missed opportunity there? Or do you wish you had a chance to do it over again? Believe me, you will. You will. You have plenty of chances in your life to deal with fear. So look back on this year, and I promise you, the normalness in life that we all crave will come back. I believe that with all my heart. But what you can gain from all of this is not a new normal, but a new and improved way of dealing with fears. Because there are people that have been so hurt by this past year and so harmed that they will have PTSD the rest of their life from the fear that was swirling about in the past 12 months and is still really there. Do you want that to be you? Or will you process this all correctly? Will you take action in each area to break the power of this fear? You may be not making choices about your future simply because everything seems so unknown, the fear of the unknown. What will happen tomorrow? I have no control. Other people make decisions for me. So perhaps you're standing still and you're paralyzed. You're not making a decision. Of course, that's not going to get you closer to your goal, so you have to break through that and take action. Sometimes that taking action is a small thing. If you have a child you're concerned about their mental health, they haven't been in school or they haven't been around their friends, take action. Spend more time with that child. Maybe seek out counseling. Find a way, alternative way to get them what they need from a psychological and mental and spiritual standpoint, but take action. Don't just sit there and watch these things happen and continue to allow the fear to paralyze you. Because fear makes you feel like you have no ability to influence everything. But that's a lie. That is a lie, because you do have ability and control, and it is in your mind. And your choice is what you think upon, what you say, what you choose to do. That is your choice, and that is your control. And that is massive control. Standing still is a choice, and that allows fear to win. The bottom line is either fear is going to control you or you are going to control the fear. Because you know now, if you didn't before, that you can't control the events around you. As much as we all thought 365 days ago, a year ago, that we were facing maybe a 2-week to slow the spread or stop the spread or whatever that is, and it seemed like there was certainly an end in sight, we kind of laugh now when we look back on that, because that was not at all what we were facing, but we didn't know that. And so now that we see all of that, we should be more resilient. We should learn from all of that and understand we can't control these things, but we can control our reaction to them. We can control the fear. What are you waiting for to take action? Are you retreating, or are you moving forward? And it's not about eradicating this fear. It's about stripping it of its power by taking action. You will not ever eradicate fear in your life. Ever. It will never go away completely. We will always have fears, but what we get better at is dealing with them correctly and using those fears to actually propel us into action. So take an account on this 1 year, somewhat dubious anniversary that we're facing. Take an account of the last year. What would you have done differently? It's not to beat yourself up. It's not to look backward only for the purposes of being upset about what happened, but it's more instructive to say, I did this well, I didn't do this so well. How will I move forward stronger, with better decision making, with better reactions to the fears that I'm facing? That's what I'm doing. I'm looking back at the past year and wondering where I got it right and where I got it wrong. It's not over yet. We still have a lot to go through in this world, but we always will. This is just the crisis we're in now. This is just what we're facing now. And we'll be able to overcome it. But what you don't want to do is come out weaker from a challenge like this. You want to come out stronger. So if you're waiting to make some decisions, make them now. If you haven't moved forward or taken action in the face of the fear of the last year, take action now. It's never too late. That's what you need to do. Standing still will never conquer your fears. Looking backward and staying in the past and wishing you had done things differently rather than just learning from it and moving on, that will never conquer your fears. You can strip fear of its power if you take action. Remember, the antidote to fear is action. And many of you listening today know you need to take action. You need to make that decision. You need to make that change. You need to implement that idea. You need to make some big decisions and some small decisions in your life, and you haven't taken action. So this is my challenge to you to do that. To do that in the face of fear, to do that in the face of the unknown, because there are a lot of them. And if you're waiting to know everything and understand where everything's going to end up, you'll be waiting a very long time, because life isn't that way. And we've certainly learned that this past year. You're never going to know exactly what's going to happen, but what you can control is your mind and how you direct it, and you can take action. So I hope that encourages you. I know right now, as you are listening to my voice, there are people who need to make decisions finally and move forward, even into something they're not sure how it's going to turn out. We don't always see the end of it, right? We just have to take that step forward, and then we'll see a little bit more. And then we take another step and we'll see a little bit more. Stop waiting for the whole thing to be clear. Because if I told you a year ago we would still be in this, you wouldn't believe me. We don't know which way things are going to go, but I do know that action will take the power away from your fear, and that you can live victoriously if you continue to push forward in spite of it. Do so courageously and with wisdom. Talk to you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to Master Your Mindset Radio. Before you go, if you want to be part of a free online community of like-minded individuals for support, resources, and inspiration as you conquer your limiting beliefs and pursue your purpose, go to elizabethnader.com/community. That's elizabethnader.com/community, or search for Master Your Mindset Academy private group on Facebook. Looking forward to seeing you online.